What's up, YouTube family? What's going on, guys? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com, and it's been a while since I did a video, but we've had plenty of reasons. Last week was Thanksgiving. The week before that was NPC Nationals. I was on the road, I was coaching, I was busy, spending time with family, doing all the things I needed to do to recharge my batteries. But the good news is this week I'm gonna do a video every day. I'm gonna answer some questions. So last night I posted up a question on Instagram saying, does anybody have any questions for me? I'm gonna do some YouTube videos this week. Overwhelming response, 45 comments. Kind of strange because I didn't expect to get that many on a Sunday, but good job, guys. And I looked over the questions and there's some awesome questions, like questions I'm excited to answer. Sorry guys, I have to interrupt the video editing process because I forgot to mention something while I was doing the video. So if you're online today looking for Cyber Monday deals and you're looking for some fantastic supplements, either pre-workouts or branched chain amino acids or protein or post-workout meal or a joint supplement, hormone support, any of that stuff, go to corenutritionals.com and use my code PaulR20 and you get 20% off site-wide. No other thing you need to do. Sorry guys, back to your regularly scheduled video. So we're gonna get started this week. First, I wanna show you guys some footage. I had a couple clients at NPC Nationals in Miami last weekend. Drove down there with Lauren Conlon. We had an awesome trip. Everything went great. Both my competitors, first time national competitors, Danny and Samantha, both got second call outs. Samantha somewhere in the 6 to 7 range. Danny somewhere in the 9 to 12 range. Don't know their placings, I haven't looked them up yet, but awesome weekend. Trained at Iron Addicts, hung out with Loco, she's badass. Ate some food, lifted some weights, and then one of my best friend's birthday was Monday. So got back, got ready for Thanksgiving, and it's just been an awesome couple days, awesome week or so. Got set up for Christmas last night. If you follow me on Snapchat at Paul Revelia, I got some pictures of my Christmas lights and Christmas tree and stuff that's going on there. But overall, just it's been great and I needed to recharge. That's why I haven't really done a video recently. But this week, I'm gonna be on top of things, get a bunch of videos out. So I wanna start with the question I got from Eddie O. Perez. I'll post up a picture of the question right here and I'm gonna read it off to you now. All right, so Eddie writes, when dieting and fat loss stalls, is it because the body is trying to maintain homeostasis, right? So the fact that we aren't dropping anymore means we're in maintenance. Not really, because we don't need an additional 500 calorie drop to induce a 1 pound a week fat loss, only a minor drop in kcals. What is the reasoning behind this, and what would happen if you kept calories the same forever? Would weight be maintained, or would our metabolism do something funky and cause us to gain or lose eventually? Odd question, but I can't wrap my head around it. And I really like this question, Eddie, because I remember when I first got into coaching, first got into the theory of fat loss, you always hear things like, to lose a pound of body fat, you need to be in a 500 calorie deficit per day, which equals 3,500 calories per week, which equals 1 pound of body fat. And so the science there is like, you know, this is what you need to do. So what everyone runs out and does is they figure out what their current calories are, or what they should do, and then they cut 500 calories from their diet, and then they think they're gonna lose a pound a week forever. A few things happen along the way. First of all, your metabolism adapts. So when you have a metabolic rate that's burning at this level and you create a deficit, it eventually catches up to the deficit and levels off, and now you're at maintenance mode, which is exactly right, what Eddie mentioned. But to get to that next stage of fat loss, how come we don't have to create another 500 calorie deficit? So when I'm coaching someone and I notice that they hit a stalling or sticking point, and they're at 2,000 calories, I do not reduce them to 1,500 calories. That would be very hazardous. You would actually stall out again, and then you would be left with 1,500 calories, and you would just reach a very low plateau very quickly if you cut 500 calories every time you stalled. Instead, what we do is we make minor adjustments, maybe a few hundred calories of diet and a little bit of cardio, and we create the deficit that way. What we call this is a threshold. So when our body fat reaches a lower level and we start to maintain there, we've actually hit a threshold. So to hit that next threshold, we don't need to make a 500 calorie drop. It might only be as little as 50 calories, 100 calories, 200 calorie drop to continue to see fat loss progress. Why does this happen? Well, as we lose body fat, we actually have less body fat to lose, right? So the thresholds for losing that body fat are much, much smaller instead of at the original sticking point that where you start. I don't have a scientific explanation for this, and I don't think there's anything in the literature that explains why when you make smaller adjustments, body fat will just start cruising again. As we get leaner and as we adapt, our bodies become much different machines, much more efficient. Our gut flora changes, our metabolism changes, our heart rate changes, hormones change. So there's so many things happening that scientifically speaking, you can't always explain it from a very high level. Instead, what we have to use as coaches is experience. And this is where experience is very important. Someone who's just starting out coaching or trying to do things for themselves might look at this and go, okay, I've stalled and I need to make a huge drop in calories. It's not always the case. And as a coach, what I always want to do is diet someone on the most calories and the least cardio possible. If we can do that, we can maintain fat loss longer and we can see where we can get. It's also very important to take into consideration the person's body composition. People who are way above their set point with body fat, if you're way above your set point, your body is going to get down to its natural set point a lot easier. However, when we reach that set point and we want to get below that, to say photo shoot, physique competition, or just nasty conditioning because you want to look good for a reunion or the beach or whatever it is, when you want to get below that set point, that's when things become unique and different and where coaching experience comes into play, where, you know, working with women, older men, different races, all kinds of things come into play, and you have to be able to pay attention to the things that are happening throughout the dieting phase. You have to understand that person from a macro cycle, right? If you just ask them what they've been doing for the last 6 weeks, that's not going to give you an answer. You need to understand what they've been doing for the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. People who have been restricting calories for 15, 20 years and want to lose weight, likely their metabolism has adapted. For those that have never really tracked their diet, they just kind of ate what they wanted to when they wanted to, and they're a little bit overweight, these people are typically going to lose body fat much easier because they haven't restricted calories, and so their metabolisms are going to be up higher along with their body fat, but that becomes easier. It's the people that have restricted. So you have to understand the macro life of a person's diet and a person's lifestyle, not just the short term. So when we're talking about making changes to a diet of a person who's hit a plateau, it helps to understand where they have been, how long they've been in a surplus, what their lifetime of nutrition has looked like. So Eddie, I really appreciate your question. Don't know that I've answered it sufficiently, but I will say this, in my experience, it is much better to err on the side of making a smaller adjustment and maybe not dropping right away than to make too big of adjustment and plateauing sooner or being stuck at a lower calorie intake for a longer period of time. Now, situation to situation matters. If you don't have a lot of time to diet and you're trying to compress a fat loss phase into a smaller time period, then perhaps it's right to be more aggressive. As a coach, I always look at things in the best possible case scenario. I have as much time as I want to get this person to their ideal body weight or their ideal body fat. And so I look at things over a long period of time. It's always better to do things longer if possible, but it's not always possible, so that comes into play. I hope that answered your question, Eddie. If anybody has any feedback or comments or studies they're aware of or anything that relates to this, I'd love to hear them. You know, I get to be around some really smart people, and so this is just my experience as a coach over the last 5 or 6 years and being around those people. And yeah, so that's it. So we just make small adjustments. And then the second part of your question, Eddie, was, will the metabolism adapt if you just stay at the same level forever? Yes, if you just continue eating the same things and doing the same things, I believe you would maintain for a very long time until age crept in. As we age, of course, things tend to change, but if we're just talking over, you know, a year, 6 months, something like that, yes, you would just maintain at those lower calories if you kept activity level the same. Anyway, guys, this is Paul from ProPhysique.com. I hope you have an awesome Monday, an awesome week. More videos coming this week, and please let me know if you have any questions below. I try to answer every comment that I get. I also would appreciate if you'd hit the subscribe button, because It makes me happy. All right, guys, have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.